What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Search Economy. I am your host, Brett McGrath, and I'm joined too by the other co-host, David Riggs. This is a fun one. This is the first time we've had someone on the show outside of David and myself. We are bringing on Jonathan Rivera, who is the owner at Superior Attic. I love this conversation, digging into how, as a business owner, he thinks about marketing in the search economy. Very analytical guy. He talks a lot about how he thinks about the customer experience. You'll hear a lot about culture and its impact. This is one, if you're a marketer or if you're running a business, that you are going to want to tune into. Make sure you check out what we're up to at 𝐒𝐞𝐚𝐫𝐜. We are helping grow companies that grow communities through SEO, design, PPC, a lot of other stuff. Hope you enjoy this. The search economy. Let's kick it over to the conversation.
Beautiful. Dude, I'm excited to have you on. I know we were chatting about this a bit, and after I think one reschedule, we finally got some time on the calendar. So I'm stoked to chat with you today. I did look it up while we were chatting as well. We are encroaching on a year and a half, just over a year. So excited to have a client on is an episode as well here today. But yeah, man, I kind of want to kick it off as well and give you the mic. Why Superior Attic? What you said, you've been in the industry for 10 years, so it seems like you got good knowledge with it.
Yeah.
What really were you trying to solve when you set out?
I think it was a broken industry. I'm really attracted to broken industries, and what I mean by that is I've always tried to find an industry that was filled with broken promises, with frustrated, scared, misinformed customers, and really try to add transparency and integrity and build trust with kind of trusted relationships in the industry. So that's kind of why I picked the attic installation world.
I'd love to dig in and ask a question on that. Just broken industries, I think, are super interesting, and we've seen just some of the biggest companies emerge over the last decade because of them. I think specifically of consumer products that we use, like Netflix and Uber and things like that. Maybe dig into that. I would love to learn more about just how broken the industry is and how you presented yourself at Superior Attic as a solution to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first key to it was that it was a very there's no advancement in the installation industry. A lot of these places are one man operations. They don't like they're just not professional at all. If you go and you send out 3 or 4 requests, you'll maybe get two contractors that actually show up to your home, and out of the 2 that show up to your home, you might get 1 bid. And the 1 bid that you'll get will be pretty much doodled on a napkin or a sheet of paper, and with no description of what type of materials they're using. And then whenever you really try to dive into the materials and what they are, what they're made of, what they'll actually do for your home, there's not a lot of information out there. And if there is information, you're reading data sheets, which are really hard to dissect. They're not very clean cut. I mean, you really have to go through and you'll find a really long word. You have to plug it into the internet browser, and it'll take you down a whole rabbit hole if you want to figure out what you're putting in your home and why. So that's kind of, I guess, the first part of it. The second part of it is that we're working up in people's attics where they'll never go. To get to the other side of even just a 1,500 square foot attic, I mean, you're walking across 3-inch boards, basically 2-inch boards, and you're trying to balance that you don't fall through your sheetrock. So really, the little old lady's not going to go up there and try to get over there and see what they actually did on the other side of their home. And that's where I think a lot of the integrity issues happen. I've seen time and time again where we've inspected somebody's attic who just had a hunch that the other company didn't do what they said that they were going to do. And we find that they didn't remove the second half of the insulation from the other 700 square feet of their home, and they just started blowing new insulation on top or something along those lines. So other than that, I think it's just people promising things and not delivering, which home service is just I mean, they're just known for that, right? Is contractors in general are just known to be kind of slime balls at the end of the day, and we've just really empowered a culture in the installation industry here in DFW that if you're not going to hold the standard like Superior Attic, you might as well get out of business because you're going to fall short. You're going to we're going to put you out of business if you don't want to raise your level of integrity and transparency in this industry.
Yeah, it's all about how you do small things, right? And like all of those are little the minutia of it, but all important, obviously, especially if you're not doing half the job. And I think that's funny. One of the things on your site, building relationships through conscious listening, leading with integrity and excellence. I think you even hint at it as well, but I guess it's one thing to say that. It's one thing to make sure it's embedded in the culture of what you do. I'd be curious as well, like with your role, how have you ensured or made sure like that's a part of the culture, it's part of the team, like the people who work for you really get it more than just being able to restate it?
Yeah, man, culture has been, I think, what's allowed us to grow so quickly. I didn't know how important it was whenever I first started my entrepreneur career. I didn't even know the word culture. I felt like I had worked.
I was in the same boat. I was like, what's this culture thing?
Yeah, exactly. And, I think that it's been first, it kind of started off with me trying to just figure out what the culture is and why. And then it was really kind of, okay, how am I going to back this? And I had to lead by it. Like, we didn't have this culture just from the very beginning. I didn't know how to interview, recruit, and kind of uphold this culture. So it turned into a lot of trial and error, number one. And then number two was a lot of me just trying to, just trying to build. So for example, one of our core values is relationship. And it started off with like me having to try to create authentic, real relationships, not just, hey, you did really good in sales this week, let me take you out for lunch, but hey, you had a really bad week. Like, let's just be together on it. Let's learn from this together. Like, how can I support you and give you what you need to get you through this down week that you're in, right? And being there for the rough times as much as the times where we get to celebrate, because I had a sales guy go out and do 50K in a week or something like that, right?
You mentioned it earlier as well, but I'd be curious. You've been with Superior Attic, you said 3 years. Yeah, you've been in the industry 10 years. What did those other 7 years look like? Where were you working? What were you doing?
Yeah.
Maybe even broadly speaking, like how did that inspire you to jump ship and do Superior Attic?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started off kind of like my home service skills my home service career at an animal removal company out of Dallas. And they would go in and basically they would get rid of rodents that were inside people's attics, and then they would get the attic back to pre-loss condition. So we'd fix all the damages, which is where I learned attic installation. The culture was horrible. I was this, I don't know, I think I was maybe 20. I was this 20-year-old that basically went into this company super pumped up, super motivated, wanting to just learn and absorb everything. And my second day, I was just thrown out into the field all by myself and was told to like go sell this job that was supposed to range anywhere from $2,500 to $15,000. And I didn't know how to measure. I didn't know how to write a bid. I didn't know how to do really anything. But I've always been a problem solver. I've always been like somebody that was ready to just jump in anyway. So I just saw it as like a challenge, and I'm going to go sell some animal removal jobs. So I did that, but what it did was, because of the lack of training, is that as I would sell jobs, I would just piss off my production team because I didn't know what I was doing.
What you were selling.
Exactly. And basically I would just say yes to everything. Things that like, oh, you need all your siding and your roof replaced? Like, sure,
we'll do that.
I'm going to go look up on Google how to price this out. And I would price my jobs decently, but it was like, no, that's not how how this works. We don't do roofs, John. Like, I thought we'd do anything to get rid of the animal. So that was a culture that I didn't have any support. And even though I was a top performer in sales and I could sell just about anything, I felt like, I was fired from that job because I just pissed off our production team. From there, I started my own animal removal company, which I exited from 3 years ago, right before Superior Attic. And that culture was a lot of, I didn't trust. I didn't have any trust for anybody. I had to do it all myself, right? So it didn't scale very far. I mean, it grew big enough to what one man and, a couple guys can do.
Could do, yeah.
But and I made enough competitors mad that they bought me out, essentially. So
the biggest question is, did you make any of your production team mad?
I learned. So I was half of my production team. So yeah, I pissed myself off.
Yeah.
One of my first jobs, I had sold this job where I had to go on a 40-foot ladder and seal off this hole that was like on this very steep roof. I'd never done the production work in my life. I just sold it. And I jump up on this ladder. I climb, so I go and I buy this ladder from, like, it's like one of those old AT&T ladders, those fiberglass ones that your AT&T goes up on. So I went and bought one of those. I like strapped it to my truck somehow, hauled it over to this job, put it 40 feet in the air. And I'm like, all right, now I just got to go up. And I get up there and my legs are wobbling like crazy. I'm terrified. I don't know what I'm doing at all. And I'm trying to seal this hole up using this like fabricated metal. And I did it, but that was just one of the times that I definitely oversold myself whenever I was first starting up. The job took me way too long. It was terrifying. I don't think I even probably made real money on it. But it was, yeah. So I made my production team less mad there, but I definitely found myself into a lot of predicaments.
I mean, I think that's an interesting thing to break open too. Maybe a bit down the rabbit hole, but like, how do you, whatever you sell, how do you ensure that that's being delivered? Like, I'd love to like think about how you go through that, because it seemed like you had a tough go at it at the beginning because you were just kind of thrown into the deep end. But now with Superior Attic, it seems like that's something you focus on, in the sense of like, I need to sell, whatever I sell needs to be exactly delivered as it was sold. We run into those issues all the time as well, making sure that's like it's an exact 1-to-1 match, and we're always talking about how can we better queue up our delivery team from what sales is actually selling. So I'd just be curious your thoughts on it.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that it's a ton of feedback. So every single customer that we have fills out a feedback form at the completion of their project, and we actually read them. I actually, like, it's part of closing out a job on the back end before everybody gets paid. And that's part of it as well, is that everybody in Superior Attic is a performance-based wage. So people do have like bases, they do have salaries and things like that, but we always make a significant part of their wage performance-based. And I honestly don't believe in paying like any other pay structure but that. But outside of the pay structure, incentivizing people with money anyway, I think it goes, part of it is it goes back to culture. Is I want the culture of people that really want to build authentic, real connections and relationships with people that truly want to serve and make sure that they provide the best installation project that we could possibly give. And I think it kind of starts off in our office. Our core values are on the wall. We talk about them every meeting. We shout out our, people that withheld our core values or our mission every single meeting. We, our culture is also very much so like we start every meeting with our challenges for the week and our appreciations for the week, and we appreciate each other and we talk about it, and I mean, we really take probably 30 minutes every single or every other week for our team meetings, and we really highlight people that have upheld core values. And I think what it does is it just instills this need to withhold our core values and withhold our mission.
So you've said culture a dozen or so times already since we've started, and so I want to talk about maybe culture as a disruptor, which is something I'm thinking about just in terms of this conversation. So you've chosen at Superior Attic to put your culture and your values on your website and put it front and center, along with real pictures of your team, who you are. I'm interested in learning about like decisions to do that, because that seems very different from what the experience that I've had, kind of going to Google and searching for consumer services businesses where when I've had a problem where where I live. So I'm curious on that decision to put culture front and center, and just like highlighting the people behind the work on your team.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that what it's done for our customers, it's added a very real aspect. It's humanized our business, right? Is a lot of companies do just have this awesome ad out all the time, right? They have this they're just constantly maybe just talking about their promotions and their discounts and things like that. But I don't know how many times that, like whenever we first started and I was selling jobs, that I'm the very first video that pops up on our website, right? And it's me talking about Superior Attic and what we do and how we're going to treat their home, basically, right? And I'll show up to a job. Like I showed up to a job the other day just to shadow somebody. It was a new guy. I was shadowing a new sales guy. And I showed up to the job. I parked 3 houses down, and the owner of the house starts walking up to my truck, and I roll down the window, and he's like, "You're the guy from the website." Oh my! And immediately he's like, "Wow!" And I just thought, like, wow, these people, like, they see me, they see the people that we post all the time, and they immediately have enough trust to walk 3 houses down and knock and come and talk to you already, right? To where he recognized me 3 houses down. I was waiting for the sales guy. I had to get out of the truck and kind of take over the sale because I already had too much rapport, right? I couldn't then hand it off to my new sales guy, right? So we, so I think it immediately builds trust. Number one, putting our culture out there, putting our core values and our mission out there, and then whenever we show up and it's the guy from the video, or it's the guy from the reviews, or it's the guy that was on the bottom of the email, that we shouted out or whatever, all of a sudden they're like they just feel heard and taken care of already, and there's just so much more trust. It's not even a real introduction at that point. They already know who you are.
I dig it. Yeah, I've seen that video multiple times on your site. I like the fact, and I think that's something that always stood out as we were working together as well, is that it's not do stuff just to do stuff, whether it's on marketing or sales or whatever. Like everything's a very thoughtful touch with you, which I've always liked, but definitely think that layers into like the photos, the videos on this site, how you have the team, even down to like some of the marketing we've done for you as well. It's just thoughtful, bigger picture. Let's make sure it's actually, think of it in terms of the customer's lens, so to speak, about what they're looking for, and recreate it from there, which I always like. And honestly, that's the right way to do it as well. But I'll even go like we've talked about culture. We've talked about some of the business building the last 3 years, so to speak, of Superior Attic. What have those 3 years looked like? Because I think your business and our business are actually pretty similarly aged. And I know the last 3 years, 36 months, so to speak, for us is always the ups and downs and everything around that as well. Like it's always keeping you on your toes. I just be curious, like, what are some of the highs and lows? What's it been like going from, kind of a different industry? You're still on roofs, so to speak, but different industry to what you do now. And where it's taken you in the last 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that realistically, as far as like, so we've grown tremendously. Month over month, year over year, the return is unreal. The growth is unreal. But the truth is that it's not our main focus. We've grown naturally because we've been able to deliver, because I'll say it again, because of culture, because of because of our hiring processes, because of the processes that we instill in the company. But as far as, customer base goes, and like being in the home and everything, I think our close rate over the last 3 years has probably gone up 5 to 7%, which is it's pretty commendable. Over the last quarter, it's gone up another 5%, which is insane to me. And ultimately, I think that the reason why we've been so consistent in that is because from day one, it was about how do we take care of our customer. Our initial mission started off with just 2 words. It was building lives. And all that meant to us was like, how can we, any person that Superior Attic touches internally, so whether they're working with us or whether it's a customer and we're we're going to do a job for them, how can we help build a life there, right? And over the years, it's consistently changed or not really changed, but it's been reworded. It's been a little bit more. We've added to it, right? And so over the years, it turned into building lives through conscious listening. Then it turned into building relationships through conscious listening, and then it turned into building relationships through conscious communication, leading with integrity and excellence, right? And over the years, I think just by really listening to our customer, really connecting with our customer, we've just repeatedly have been shouted out. We've been praised. People have sent our information to their neighbors. They've put us on Facebook. They put us on networks. They leave a review. I mean, so I think that that's really where where a lot of the growth came from, and it's made what we do a little bit effortless. I remember before, when we would go to produce a job, people would come out and they would have a lot of questions, right? Or they would want to go in the attic themselves. We have more customers now than ever that are like, nah, man, just close the attic door. We trust you guys. See you later. Here's the final payment.
That's when you know you're doing something right.
Yeah. They just trust us.
So I know we're going to get in maybe to the weeds a little bit of like marketing, but before we do that, I am curious to understand how you as the owner thinks about marketing. It is, I feel like in this age of just standing out and getting found, it's a critical discipline, and I'm certainly biased because I'm a marketer by trade. But how do you think about marketing and marketing Superior Attic? How much of your time as the owner do you focus in on that? And you alluded to it a little bit, but how big of a role do your current customers play in those efforts as well?
Absolutely. Marketing right now is the only department that I have not let go of, in the sense of like, I check on all, like I'm constantly in the weeds of marketing, basically. I think that it's so important. I think that's where a lot of businesses fail is acquisition of, number one, leads, but then also that conversion from lead to estimate, or lead to conversion, I should say, to be more general. But that said, I spend probably about an hour to 2 hours a week on marketing. And then I And then I'm constantly having the numbers. So every single week, all my numbers are completely updated as well, with my executive assistant. So I track the ROI day over day, or sorry, week over week. I track my conversions and well, here. So actually, let me back up. I track my impressions month over month. So I get an idea of how many impressions we're having. And I'm constantly asking, how can we get more impressions? I'm constantly asking how can we get more, which you guys have gotten. Jace is probably, like, if you were to ring up Jace right now and you were to ask him what's the first thing that John's going to ask, he's going to say, how can we convert more? How can we, right? Because that's always what I'm asking. But anyway, so I'm always tracking my impressions. I'm always tracking like my clicks, and I want to know how many impressions and why we're having a 2 or 3 or whatever percent click-through rate, right? And then I'm asking, okay, where are we losing people at? So I'm asking kind of the questions of like, of how can we improve? How can we put something on our site that captures those people or answers the questions that's not being answered quick enough for them to click off or not leave their information. Then I track that kind of stuff maybe month over month. Week over week is how many leads are we getting in through a certain lead source, and then I'm saying how many are how many of those leads are we converting at that point to a estimate or to a booked appointment on our schedule, right? And then I'm constantly trying to improve that process as well. So I guess I don't remember the initial question right off the bat, but it's very, very important for me. I am a huge nerd about it, and it's probably one of the things that I'll probably keep in my wheelhouse for quite a while, instead of just giving it to my team to figure out.
I'd be curious as well. We, Brett and I and the rest of the team have coined something called the search economy. Hence, people search for answers. They search for solutions, right? They own the buying process a little more than they've done in the past. And I think if you go down the street and ask the average person, they probably use Google for 99% of their searches every day, if not all of them. I say all of that. I know we've done a good job at capturing that demand, right? Getting you in front of people that are actually interested in what you do. I'd be curious. So you just walked through like a nice funnel of just like, right? Impressions turn into clicks, clicks turn into conversions, conversions turn into calls, calls to maybe, quotes, and then quotes to actual, customers. What have been some of the biggest wins you've had in that process? Because I think a lot of the people that would listen to this, a lot of other clients as well, getting the traffic, getting the conversion, and getting them to book an appointment. I would almost say that's all step 1 or step 1, 2, 3. Step 4, 5, and 6, or however many afterwards, is where you truly do make the money, make the revenue. You turn somebody truly from just a visitor into a customer. Just be curious, like, how have you refined that? What are some of the big wins you've had? What are some of the big losses or things that you won't go back to?
Yeah, one of the biggest wins that I've had with that is conversion from lead to estimate. So before, whenever we got it, like whenever we had a lead, we would, we didn't track it very well. We would just try to call them 3 times a day. We'd manually text them and email them and things like that. And what I noticed is that we would drop the ball on things and people would, kind of slide through the cracks. We had spreadsheets for all of it, or we were using, like, for example, if you use Angie's List, they have like their own little platform to track these people and to call them through and things like that. And what I had learned was, like, with Angie's List, if you are the first person to call immediately, you're typically in good shape, right? You'll, like, your odds of converting that is significantly higher than the second, third, or fourth call, right? So we implemented a software that immediately, the second that they hit send their information, they get a text, they get an email, and it rings my office, and we're picking up the phone to call them, basically. So people submit their stuff, and within seconds, they're on the phone with somebody from my office, which is booking them for an appointment. And what I learned from that is that if you're not first, you're last. And if you're last, you're probably not going to book that appointment. So people nowadays, They want they want to know instantly. They want the answer right now. And I'm the same way. Is I don't wait for anything. If I need somebody to come and service my installation, I'm going to call the first person, I'm going to call the second person, the third person on Google. I will go to the back page of Google, the places where your business is dead apparently, and I'm going to start calling those people as well. And whoever answers is probably going to get my business. So I'm, I think that's the way a lot of consumers work, is like, how quickly can I find the best solution, like in the next 30 minutes? Because
how low touch can I make it? How easy is it to, because I think half the issue with some of, like, whenever we, bring on a new customer and we kind of audit how their site works and how it impacts their business, there's always ways to make it less complicated, more simple. Because I feel like the businesses who really win are the ones that it's easiest to pay them or check out from them or purchase from them. And far too many companies make it too complicated, make you jump through too many hoops. And it's just like, the people who it's easiest to pay will probably get paid more. And that definitely plays a role as you look at it next to marketing and all the other things that you're doing as well.
I completely agree. So to give you like some numbers on that though, whenever we first started, we had a 57. So in 2022, at the end of 2022, we had a 57.7% lead to estimate conversion rate. At the end of 2023, we had a 78% lead to conversion rate, which translates to, once we book the appointment and then close the deal, it translated to another $600,000 a year for us. So the software only costs me, I don't know, like $57 a month or something like that. So it's like,
yeah, well worth would you spend 600 for 600K? I think that's
exactly,
a yes.
Exactly. So that's the biggest thing, I think, and I think a lot of people really don't. I think that's where a lot of businesses fail is they don't know how to acquire business and how to service it all the way to the end.
Let's dive a little bit deeper too, right? So I know you're working with us. I know you do some Google ads as well. How do you think about your budget for marketing? How do you allocate that? I guess maybe I'll just leave it there and keep it vague to see where you go with it. But I'd be curious, like, how do you think through marketing spend holistically? Where you put that spend, how you measure it, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess it really so I measure everything completely. So first and foremost is like SEO. Google is by far my best lead source, like hands down. To give you an idea, Google, I just looked it up before this because I figured I'd be asked something along these lines. I wanted to be prepared for it, but so year to date, we've done $608,000 in revenue through Google. We've only spent $29,691 for management and for like PPC. So this is all Google combined, SEO and PPC, and so that puts us at it's like under a 5%. Or sorry, it's like it's a little over a 95% gross profit margin, which is unreal.
Awesome.
Yeah. My closest next one to that would be Angie's List, and Angie's List is doing, I think it's like right at 90 gross profit. So, I mean, Google's another 5%, right? So when it's time to expand my business, it's very clear where I'm going to put the marketing dollars, right? It's going to go to SEO, which we need to talk about, because I was supposed to text you yesterday about this. So yeah, it's really clear. And I think that it takes, so by tracking all these numbers, by having proper analytics, by just being able to have data, I think it takes away the emotional side of things of, I'm scared to invest a little bit more money into SEO. What's going to happen? Things like that. So,
because you've almost built that model that you can look at it off of, exactly. Right? And that's something I always talk about clients with, of like, as soon as we can understand how X leads to Y and Y leads to Z, and that's revenue, then it's a little bit easier just to put more fuel at the fire at the front end. Because at that point, you're right. you want to bring emotion into business for many reasons, but you also want to look at it logically to make sure that like when you do make the decision, you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at the data, it's the right move to make. I've seen that spreadsheet of yours. I know you track the data.
Absolutely. And I study it. It's part of every Wednesday morning for me for the last 3 years is I open up this little marketing plan on my MVP file, and I take the pen to paper and I figure out what's next, right? And one of the things that it's done for me is it's been really easy to just make to make the decision. So when it's time to hire another sales guy, or let's just say my sales manager walks in and he says, "Hey, I want to help you get to X amount of dollars in revenue by the end of the year." I can say, okay, perfect, that's reasonable. Or I can say, it's not reasonable right now. This is what we need to do. We need to hire another sales guy. We're going to need 15 more leads. That means, based on the past, I've been able to get about 15 leads from SEO work and PPC with about X amount of dollars. We can reinvest that. And typically it lands us right on the money. I mean, it's really basic math once you have all the data right in front of you.
I dig that. Yeah, because you can think about it. Yeah, you just think about it like a money in, money out scenario. And, there's always some granularity to money in, money out. But understanding the bigger picture, I'd be curious as well. So Google's a big part of it. You have Angie's. What else have you done? Or what else do you do?
So we do. So we have done, we've done obviously Google, we've done Yelp, Facebook, Angie's List, Instagram, networks, and then another one called CraftJack that was just acquired by Angie's. So we have had a lot of success with most of them. The only one that we just completely don't like at all is Yelp. That one's been extremely difficult to work with. But I think the biggest thing on all of them has been being, kind of what I said earlier, having that system where if you're first, or if you're not first, you're last, basically, and being able to just get to these customers really quick. But again, Google by far has just blown all of them out of the water. So yeah.
It's good for us, and that's why I enjoy what we do, because you find the right business that you can help in it. Google still plays such a massive role in the buyer's process. Mm-hmm. I think one question I have on that it comes up for a lot of our customers. I'd be curious your thoughts on it. You listed Google, which I would almost say you kind of own, but it's a different style, right? But then Yelp, Angie's List, a lot of these I would call directories or aggregators, right?
Yep.
How do you think about lead quality? Is there a difference in lead quality? But it seems like Google at least outperforms some of these other aggregators. Do you think it's by nature that they're an aggregator or a directory? Do you have less control over your marketing? Like, you're smiling, which means you have an opinion. So I'm curious what you think.
Absolutely, 100%. So to give you an idea, so Google by far has far better or higher quality leads, right? So to give you an idea, I just pulled up my marketing plan really quick so I can just throw off some numbers, right? So so let's see, really quick. Our lead conversion rate is 80.69% on Google. Our close rate on Google is 46%. Our average job size on Google is 5,681. The next closest one to that is Angie's List. Angie's List, the conversion rate from lead to estimate is 55.64%. So it's 25% less. Our close rate on it is still pretty good. It's 43%, but our average ticket size drops down to 4,404, which is over $1,000 less than Google.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then they just taper from there, right? I've even done it to where I have only ran leads from CraftJack, Networks, and Angie's, and have only ran those myself for a week or 2 weeks straight. And and these numbers did not change that much. So it's not like, we were just like in some weird downfall or something, or like some weird spiral or something like that. And then, because then I'll go run Google Leads the very next week, and I'll just run Google Leads, and it'll be, exactly what I just read off to you guys.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen it a lot, and I'm actually, that data's awesome to have, because I think it paints a picture that one thing we always talk about from sales to delivery is that Google is always going to have a little bit more of a quality lead. The reason is they're already searching for the thing. You're not having to generate demand in their behavior, like convince them that they need attic insulation. If they're searching attic insulation and DFW, they're probably already in the market for it. And if they're already in the market for it, then they're probably ready to go. So I think that's just an interesting little caveat of what you call out as people are already ready to go. It's, to your point, you got to be first, pick up the phone, call them, get in front of the customer as soon as you can. It makes all the difference.
And you need to have a process on how to field them, right? How to get them ready for the sale. We close before we even get to the job most of the time. And we close through talking to people about their problems, right? Getting a really good understanding of it, and taking really diligent notes, and then asking them when they're looking to do this project. That makes a world of difference. It changes our approach towards things, right? If you're looking to do the project ASAP, then that's going to be one of the first questions I ask at the door as well. I'm going to act like I don't have any of that information, right? Or sometimes things do change before you do get out there. They change their mind on XYZ part of what they talked about on the phone, or they learn something different because they talked with a competitor. And then you get out there to the door and you get to ask them when they're looking to do the project again. And sometimes you can help guide them to doing it earlier, right? You can help them avoid price increases. You can help them avoid getting their job done during busy season and waiting 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, or versus getting it done during slow season and having it done tomorrow, right? So there's a lot of things that if you have, the proper processes, once you acquire the lead, you can easily gear them towards a close a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Cool, man. A few other things that I was thinking of. I wanted to pin it towards closer to the end because I think I might break the conversation back open. But again, you're 3 years in. You have some experience in the industry. Now seems like you all are rocking, because I'm familiar with your growth at least the last year and a few months when we've been working together. But I guess, what's something that you either focused on early on that you wish you would have done more of, or something that you didn't give enough attention early on that you wish you would have done more of? And maybe even like broadly say, like, if there's another Jonathan listening, they're early stage in their company, like, what's some of the advice you'd give them about the way they market, the way they distribute themselves? Like, if you had to do the last 3 years over again with all the knowledge you have now, would you take different steps? Would you do the same thing?
Absolutely. There's quite a few different things. Number one is having the meetings like we have every month with our marketing team, with every single person in it, and having a marketing plan written out. And this, even if it's chicken scratch on a notepad, and you're gonna write out, you're gonna write out like our company can somewhat be seasonal. So I'm going to write out like my big seasonal months. I'm going to write out like what our ads should look like, what they should sound like, what they should be geared towards. Because the truth is that your SEO guys, your PPC guys, all these guys can only, like, they're not experts in your industry. You have to be able to give them feedback on what they're doing really well and what they're and that, hey, this ad doesn't make sense right now. This ad's really good for the winter time. It's not really good for the
spring or summer or fall.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's something I failed at earlier. I just kind of I gave everybody my money, and I never really checked in. And we had decent results still, but my results really did not soar until I just started giving good feedback, until I started coming up with a little bit of a plan and being able to actually work with you guys instead of just say, hey, go figure it out.
Go do this thing. Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm always cognizant of as we talk to new customers as well, about what their involvement could and should look like. It could be as simple as, hey, go rock it. But I've never given you an example, but I might have to now, in the sense of like little bits of feedback here and there help us, because I always say it's a marriage, right?
Yeah.
You know your business the best. You know your customer the best. We might know how your customer searches the best. Those two things have to come hand in hand to make a really good search campaign get, go live and get put together. And yeah, your feedback, and I would even say, I'm not even sure your feedback is like long. I doubt you've spent hours on delivering feedback. It's just the little pokes and prod to move us in the right direction and make sure that it's exactly targeting your perfect customer. We can take it the rest and find those keywords that bring it to life as well, which I think is it's a good, unique combination.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. And I really haven't had to give you guys this like crazy amount of feedback, but part of that also is so that's another piece of advice that I would give is figure out who your ideal customer is, right? And I don't mean just how much money they make, what type of house they live in. I mean, like, what type of brands do they like? For example, like 90% of our customers have a freaking Nespresso or a high-end coffee machine. It's so weird. I'm like, yeah, we find out like we have this huge sheet that we go through every single year, and we try to figure out what are the small little things, what are the small nuances of our
What
customers.
are the overlaps? Yeah,
exactly. Golf clubs is another one. We've been trying to nail down vehicles.
I bet if you're in Texas, it's probably a lot of SUVs. That might be a confounding variable.
A lot of trucks for sure.
A lot of trucks.
Yeah. But so I mean, I think that's part of it as well, is like if you can give your marketing guys a good ideal candidate to go after, they can do that. If not, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to help you figure it out. But I think that's a good way to like kind of fast track your marketing experience.
100%. Well, cool, man. I think the other kind of broader question I'll give you as well is that, and I'm more so curious, right? What's next? You've grown for 3 years. Is it you want to grow for another 3, another 6, another 9? I guess what's the finish line look like to you? I know that's a very broad philosophical question, but I'd just be curious, like, what's next for you and Spear Attic?
Yeah. So I actually just got done kind of creating our 2028 BHAG. If you don't know what a BHAG is, it's their big, hairy, audacious goal. And I guess I started at the beginning of this year. And when I say I just finished it, I probably finished it in February, I think. And the goal is here in the DFW Metroplex is to obviously stretch from basically Burleson all the way to Rockwall. And that's like a 2.5 hour drive. So that's pretty huge. And to really be as prominent as we are in Southlake in every other city in DFW. If we could do that, it will be, we'll be a $20 or $30 million installation company in no time. But then it's to continue to stretch across Texas. We want to go to Waco next, then Austin, then Houston, then San Antonio, and then Houston. And that's our 2028 BHAG, right? So that's the goal by 2028. And
how are you, if you are, cool, if not, I'm reading into it, but like, how are you choosing priorities of those cities? Just honestly, out of curiosity.
I think a lot of it is just accessibility, right? So like, I don't want to go to Austin because we'll have to cut straight through Waco to do it. So it's like, we might as well
do Waco first.
Yeah, exactly. So, here in like DFW, it's we're more picking it based on how many homes are in the area and who best fits our ideal candidate first, right? So we would always pick, we would always pick Southlake over like, like Louisville, right? They just that candidate profile is just gonna fit who we're looking for a lot.
You hit at it in the sense of you do it the right way, and where is my customer? Where are more of my customers? And we obviously, I'm out in Denver. We have a more or less really the only HQ we've ever had has been in Denver, but as we continue to grow, we're going to open an office out in Fishers, Indiana, which is not too far away from where Brett is, because it just meets the candidate profile of who we go after, meets the type of business, the type of person that we want to work with. Dallas was third on the list, so we weren't too far away from getting there. So maybe that'll be the third place.
That'll be awesome if you guys do.
But awesome, man. Jonathan, as we come to close, I'll give you the final question. Yeah, I guess what advice would you give to others listening to this, whether they're business owners or not, whether it's about marketing or not? What's the sage wisdom you can share?
This is one that I actually wrote down because I always kind of blank on that question. And, I think that I've hit on one of them at least already, but it's to identify that ideal customer. I think that that's such a huge thing, a critical thing that small businesses miss on. And the reason why I think that it's so important is because those customers that you really don't want to do business with, if you do business with them, you will regret it. You will be set back by it. That's where your bad review is going to come from, right? That is where your reputation is going to get hurt. That's what's going to hurt your team. That's what's going to make people quit. That's what's going to, really not do good for your business, right? So we walk from jobs like in the sense of like we won't do a job for a customer. Like I don't know, maybe every couple of weeks we get that one customer. We're like, look, we're a really good company. I don't think we're going to be able to make you happy, right? So I think that's a big one. Be real and authentic with your messaging is another one. I think that's what's going to really make you stand out. One of the things that we do that we get constant appreciation of is that I respond to every single Google review.
I noticed.
One of my business owner friends, he laughs at me for doing it, but
here's why I'm gonna say I noticed and smirked. You do not have, I think we have 50, 60 reviews, whatever. You have 237. You really do sit there and respond. I'm looking through all of them. You responded to every one. So it's definitely something to say that you enjoy being close to the customer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the truth is I don't spend very much time in the field anymore. So I don't I don't know all of our customers. And so when they take the time to leave a review is I really want to put a thoughtful response there. And what that does is it shows my other customers that we care. And if you ever have seen, so we do have a bad review, like a lot of companies do, but a lot of them respond with all the proof on why they're right. And the truth is that somebody that's willing to leave a bad review in most cases, that from my experience, yeah, they really
they're going to leave a bad review. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's been the one bad review that we do have. I truly, if you ask me, I don't believe that we deserve it. Okay. But I still responded with all the love and care in my heart. And I truly, truly wanted to solve their problem. I truly, truly wanted to show them who we were and everything like that. And after 3 or 4 months of them not answering me, I finally changed it just a little bit to a little bit of a defense, right? A little bit of a, hey, this is what's happened, just for my other customers to know. But I kept the original response there. And anytime that we have had a bad review, I've asked the customer not to delete it. I want them to update it. I want them to see that we made it right. Not that we're perfect.
Not just remove it. That's an interesting tactic, but I like that. Because, I looked at there and you'll get the negative reviews that sometimes won't get any feedback, which for better or for worse, that's their strategy. But it's another thing to just sit there, say, I'll make it right. Sorry, it's wrong. And it just shows the type of company. But I love it, man. I appreciate you jumping on today. I appreciate jamming kind of on all topics, dude. It's good to pull time out, right? Like I said at the beginning, you and I have known each other for a while, but it's fun to always get time outside of a typical campaign, a typical monthly review meeting, and really just jam on the business. Excited to see you keep growing, and I have no doubt you will. So again, man, thanks for coming on, and excited for this to go live.
Yeah, thanks, Brett, and thanks, David. I really appreciate it, and I love being on today.
Love talking to people like Jonathan. The passion, the energy, the entrepreneurial mindset is undeniable. I hope you learned a thing or two. We will be coming back for more episodes of the Search Economy next week. Make sure you hit subscribe on this if you want to tune in for more. Take care of yourself. Take care of others around you. We'll be back with more Search Economy on the other side.